Okay, there we go. All right. I don't
Wow.
like I don't
That.
like the layout of this gallery, but I'm so glad that we have these.
I will say, just looking back at this, because I'm like 19, 20 in these pictures. And I remember thinking like, I'm not like like I'm not as in shape as I wish I would have been. Now looking back at like at the time, that's what I was thinking when I first got them.
Right.
I was like, oh, I wish I was like a little bit more in shape. Now I'm like, I look like Skeletor in these photos. Like, girl, I can count your ribs. Like, you need to eat. What are you doing?
And that's exactly, the kind of stuff I wanted to talk to you about because I think the number one thing that women talk about when when they're considering boudoir is like, I don't look like I want to look. And they're always like, I'll wait, I'll wait, I'll wait. And I don't think people realize like you're stunning beautiful now.
Yeah,
Like,
just do it.
yeah, just do it, right?
Just do it. Because even the couples one, at that point, I was like the quote unquote like heaviest I had really ever been. Now, granted, I was an athlete, like I played soccer all of my life. I ran track and field. So like I was used to like being, like muscular, but also like really, really thin. And so I do remember like the couples one, I was like, oof, I'm a little like not. I've put on a little bit of weight post, being a child, an actual child.
Right.
And this was like right around, because now in these ones with Joey and I was like, this was 2018 because this was right before he deployed.
Mm.
So this was a couple years ago, and it's funny because like even but so between then and now, um, I got even into more crazy shape. Like I lost a bunch of weight, and then I've way put a lot more on now. So
But look at, I
it's
mean, look
funny.
at this.
I mean,
Because,
this is one of my favorite shots. We have this picture over our bed, like currently to this day.
yay.
One of my
You know,
favorites.
I think I'll send you a print or two. I got a new printer in the studio, so I might, as a thank you for doing this podcast, I'll
Yeah, I
send.
have this. We have this one. So that one's over Joey's side because he's like on top, and then the one if you go like I can see at the bottom like two over the one where I'm like on top of him.
Yes.
That one's on my side because like I'm,
Yeah.
and then in the middle is our beautiful like wedding pictures that you did. The one of us like kissing in between the pier.
Yeah. And I don't think I have any of your wedding photos in here. But I'm so glad. Now, was he nervous when we did the couple stuff? Like, how
Oh,
did he feel
for
about it?
sure.
Yeah.
This is because I'm the extrovert, right? Like, I'm
Yeah.
the one who's like, I don't care. You can put it all out there. Like, I have no shame, whatever.
Yeah.
He is not like that. Like, he's very private. He's very, like, keep it under wraps. Like, he's crazy with me, and I get to see all sides of him, but, like, not everybody gets to see that. And since, like, this was definitely not something that he was super like comfortable doing. I basically was just like, you have to do this.
'Cause he rocked it. I mean, he
Yeah,
crushed.
this is what he doesn't give himself enough credit. Like I will say though, he is a lot different. He came back from deployment a different person. Like he grew up for sure, and he's definitely the type of person that's like coming into himself and like aging like fine wine. Like he looks better now.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that because I see the exact same thing about my wife. Like Stephanie is aging like a rock star. I'm like, oh my gosh, like,
I'm like,
like,
I'm aging prematurely over here, and he's just like looks like a friggin' supermodel now, and I'm like, what the hell? This is not
look,
fair.
yeah, look at this.
Yeah.
Isn't that so beautiful? Gosh, you just killed it. Now, and we're at a nude beach in San Diego, but people are still there. They're still looking. Were you kind of nervous through the process?
Not with the couple ones, because I'd already gone through it, obviously by myself before the wedding. Like, so the wedding, the ones that we did for the wedding, like
Oh,
was
right.
what, 2 years before this or whatever. Um, and I was nervous a little bit like that first day, but then like, and
Talk about
you
you were nervous for your
yeah,
boudoir shoot. Okay, let's
just
look
like
at
a
some of those
little
photos.
bit.
Let's look at some of those photos
Yeah.
because um you know, I met you at church.
Yeah.
Like it was like we both come from like really conservative Christian
Mhm.
backgrounds. And I think, it's I'm not a shy person either, obviously.
Yeah.
And but I have a lot of clients who are, come out of that Christian background and they're really nervous about it. So, and I am too. So I think it is an important thing that people do this and they're not like 100,000% like confident. Like you don't
Hmm.
just do something like this and expect to be 100%.
Right. So I think, well, and I think you'd had, well, I think you are a professional, so I think you already came into it kind of, I guess, knowing probably that I was going to be nervous. And
Mm.
so I do remember that you requested I had a friend with me. So my maid of honor, like one of my best friends, came with me. So it was
Oh,
like
I
the
did
two of
request
us.
that.
Yeah, I
Uh,
remember you were like, I want you to have like a female friend with you, like somebody you feel comfortable with. And so it was like the three of us that day. And then we did that picture that I'm wearing because I made that T-shirt for like something else that had like his name, last name on it.
yeah.
And I remember that being like the one of the first couple of shots that we did. And then I think we just went right into the like laying on the beach naked.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a strategy I have
Yeah.
this day where it's like you got to rip the band-aid
Yeah.
off. Like you got
Totally.
to just do it.
And
Otherwise you
totally.
can be terrified the whole time.
Right. And so it was just like, all right, like we're just jumping into it. But I'm also the type of person that I prefer that kind of. So, but my hair's wet there. So now I'm thinking maybe we didn't do this right away.
Well, we might have gone back afterwards because sometimes we
I,
start and then I probably warmed up with
yeah,
you nude and then we probably finished up because I wouldn't have gotten you dirty and with the sand all over and
that's
wet your
true.
hair front. Yeah.
I'm like, because, and then my hair too is like naturally gets really crazy curly. So I remember like we had a bunch of that we were doing like when it was dry, and then we were like, but then we're gonna get it wet, and then we're gonna do stuff. But all I remember, especially with those ones, I basically was like, okay, I had this moment of like I'm fully naked on the beach,
Right.
and
Right.
there were people walking around. Like
Yep.
people go to surf there, people walk their dogs there, like people go there to be naked. But it was like I think it was like a weekday morning. And I'm just like, all right, cool. Like I'm fully naked on the beach. And there was definitely like that moment of like, I guess we're doing this. And then it was like, who cares? Because I don't care. So,
Well, and that's the thing. I'm glad you said that because we have people in here, and again, we have so many of my clients are like, really conservative Christian people,
mhm.
right? And these women who come in and they're like, I would never do anything like this. And then like 20 minutes later, it's like like hair flip, and it's just like they're because it's a natural state for us to have fun. And
Yeah.
once sort of like you're in a professional environment, or with a professional, I think, yeah, it's a transformation that happens really quickly.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I'm the type of person personally that's like, do it. Like, I'm so glad that I have these pictures to look back on. And that was kind of my thing, too. And one of my favorite lines, actually, from the Titanic, which is hilarious, is when, old Rose is looking at like, her pictures and she's like, oh, wasn't I a dish? And I'm like, that's how I want to be when I'm old. I want to look back and be like, look at how hot I used to be and look at what like I was able to do. So just do it.
Yeah, and it's a tricky thing because half my clients are, they come in when they're young like you,
Mhm.
because you were like 20, what? How old were you? Like 20 something when you got married?
I was 20 years old. I couldn't even drink legally at my wedding. I
So
did, but I couldn't legally. But
right. So you're pretty young and I mean you're outgoing, so that helped.
yeah,
But this was definitely out of your comfort zone.
for sure.
And so when we do this, like, you know, that's half my clients, and I try to encourage them because they're like, well, like, you know, um, there's all these reasons people want to postpone it. And that's why I want to talk to you, because you're one of those clients who, like, you did it beforehand and you're looking back 5 years later
Hmm.
and super stoked about them.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know.
I
I'm
think
glad to hear.
it's just it's something that all women go through for sure and struggle. And I'm like, and I haven't even had kids yet, so great. I can't wait to have my body destroyed. But,
I know, right? Oh
like,
God.
still, it's just like I don't know. I'm just a confident person. I always have been. I've never really cared about other people's opinions of what they think of me. Also, that comes from a traumatic childhood and like abuse and like having
Gee.
my dad yell at me that I wasn't good enough, but then knowing the truth, like, okay, but his words mean nothing. Like what I think of myself and who I actually am is the truth. So, um, being just confident in like who I am, I guess. I don't really know where I was going with this, to be honest.
Well,
I kind of just
but
like lost my train of thought.
that is something. I mean, so I'm not one of those boudoir photographers who's like, you know, this is for you to be empowered. I'm just, you know, my whole thing is like, I can make you look absolutely drop dead sexy, and
Hmm.
you know, like that's what all I do. I'm not trying to pitch this, but everybody does walk out like changed. Like,
Empowered, yeah.
yeah, like you walk out, and I try to describe it to people. And if you've never done it, you're like, how could a photo session do that? And you just don't realize, but it's like when you
Well,
see how beautiful you can be,
hmm
it messes with your brain. It changes you.
and I think it's because when we look at ourselves, are on the side of like the critique, and so I mean, every single day that you look at yourself in the mirror is, you're critiquing who you are, what you look like you're only seeing you through the perspective of you. And it's like when you do these photo shoots and then you come out of it on the other side and you're like, not only did you have a great time during the photo shoot and you were like unlock something probably inside you that you didn't know you had, like confidence or like whatever, then you get to see the pictures and it's like you get to see what other people see. And it's
Right.
kind of this like moment of realization of, oh, I'm really hard on myself. And like if this is like what the outside world sees of me, like why don't I see that in myself?
And I love the way you worded it, because well, at least when we do stuff in studio, we shoot with a big screen TV so everybody can see their photos.
Hmm.
And I'm sure I did the same thing with you when you know, as soon as I'm taking pictures, I'm showing you in the
Hmm.
moment, because I don't want people to think I'm lying to them
Yeah.
with Photoshop, or even in the, like, oh, you look great, and they totally don't. And I have to show them, like, this is
Yeah.
what you look like with
Yeah.
just with all I'm doing is I discover your angles, and you know,
Hmm.
you're dressed super sexy and you're doing something adventurous, and that's all it takes to make you look like you belong in a magazine. That's it.
Yeah, because I mean, I think for the couples one, I had a little bit of makeup on, but I mean, for the ones that are just me, I that's fully bedhead in the morning, how I wake up, and no makeup.
Right.
So,
And of course, you know, you weren't as thin for the couples ones. And so, and I try to tell people, like, we don't shoot, like, I shoot 2,000 photos in a day. I don't get 2,000 photos that look like
mhm,
this, you know, like
yeah,
I do pick some, and you know, and I got to go through it to find the ones that really highlight and make, you know, slim you down or pose you. So there is a little bit of
mhm,
selection process, but that's you, you know,
right.
if like your booty looks really nice there, your back looks fantastic, and it's just posing, and you're in a romantic, and you know, Joseph's hands, like, you know,
I
like
mean, yeah, it's like that's real. Like you can't you can't fake those things.
right. Um, you know, one of the things I love, well, you know, before I get to your bridal stuff, because
Yeah.
I loved your bridal photos, and I'm angry that I don't see the one on the couch, which we're gonna have to, you might have to hold your photo up. Um, so when I forget if you surprised Joseph with this, like, did he know you were doing this, or
No, he didn't know I was doing this. And
Did you freak out?
yeah, so I made this book. This was Joey's wedding present from me to him on the day of our wedding. And so I put all of these pictures into this book because he is a Marine, and like we knew that we spend so much of our lives apart from each other. So I was like, this is something that he can then take with him. And more than that, I added like, so I wrote, stuff on the day of our wedding, like I wrote him a note, whatever, and I put before it like our whole story. Like this was the day that we started dating. I mean, we are literally in high school like infants here.
Right.
And I did our prom pictures, like, pre getting engaged and just like our lives. And then I did, let me find like, then we got engaged at the Marine Corps ball, and I put that
Right.
in there.
Oh
And
gosh,
then
that's super cute. And I
our
remember seeing this book like early on
yeah,
before there was a lot of stuff in there.
because then I did our engagement photos too that were shot by yours truly and all that stuff. So then that whole thing. So he's like looking at it, and then you transition from innocent like cute beach picture
Right.
of us to this, and it's like, oh, hold up, what's happening?
Right.
And
Did
then
you
it's
see him go through it?
yeah, I did it like in front of him. And then it's like all of these pictures that we did at the beach. And he was like, "What the heck?"
Right.
And he was super stoked about it.
And so he's
Like,
getting more and more pumped up as it gets a little
because
sexier.
this was like, I gave this to him like when we got back to the hotel room after our wedding. Like, this was like, pulled this out, and we were like, this was like our wedding night. And then the next day we were going to Hawaii for 2 weeks. And so even in that, we then have added to it since then. And so
Oh,
like we journaled the whole time on our honeymoon, and like we like something major happens in our life, like we moved to North Carolina, like we write it in here, and like on our anniversaries we try to like write in here. And then when Joey deployed, he took this with him, so he like had it.
ever since I saw that, we actually offer one. We offer like a little moleskin journal where we do the prints right on them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
no.
because this is very janky. Like this is very homemade, but it's full of love.
But guy, okay, now here as a dude, right? My wife gives me something, and you're like, "This is really sweet," but as a dude, you're thinking also, "Okay, this is kind of cheesy and corny." Uh, but then you start getting like, "Oh shit!" Like this is what I'm talking about. Like now we're
Yeah.
talking. This is getting really
Right.
good.
So it was like supposed to be both. It's like
It
supposed to
is.
be sweet, and like now we have that forever, but like it was mostly like so that when he was really feeling like crap off on some world mission, he could pull it out and like reminisce. And the thing is about Joey, he's more sentimental than I think he would admit.
Right, right.
And I think that's how most guys are too. So yeah, yeah. And then it's cool because we have the couple one that we got to do together, like post
Right.
all of that. And, um,
And
yeah.
I like what I like about couples is, when the women come in for just their solo photo shoot, they're like a nervous wreck, right?
Mhm.
And as soon as it's like, oh, my husband or boyfriend can come, it's totally different. They like,
Yeah.
who cares? Like, I'm with my man, and then the guy's nervous.
Yeah.
and and a lot of times the guys, they don't like strip down or anything, because you can do boudoir shoot where they like are pretty modest.
Mhm.
Whatever, that's fine, it works.
Yeah.
But it's funny watching that reversal. And so he was nervous about it, and then looking back, is he more like, does he have a favorite from your 3 shoots that you guys have done?
I think the like the ones that we did together, like the Boudoir ones that we did, was his favorite because I think also Joey had surgery, so he wasn't that in shape for our
Right.
wedding. And that's like his big regret is he always looked back, he's like, I'm so tubby in our wedding pictures. But I'm like, you literally had just had surgery. Like,
Right.
you're fine. And so this one, he still's like, I still have a belly in those. You don't, first of all. But whatever. Um, but he still likes those the most. And I think that he probably wishes he could do it again right now because he's like in killer shape.
Because
But
you to do it where you guys are like both feeling 100%.
yeah, which
Okay.
I'm not right now. So I was like, you're gonna have to wait on that.
It's funny
But
because yeah, my wife's the same way. I shoot her every now and then, not like as much as you'd think
mhm.
from a boudoir photographer. And she's very much like, well, you need to wait. And I remember I would have friends because I used to shoot a lot of my friends, and they would like basically have me on speed dial like the day that they were like the one day where they're like, okay, I'm fit. Like we're ready.
Do it now.
Yeah, like we have like 30 minutes before I eat this pizza, and we need to shoot before then.
Yeah, I think that we obviously loved our engagement pictures. We obviously loved our wedding pictures, but also we by that point we'd been married for like 2 years or something like that when we did the couples one together. And I mean, we had already hit some marital snags,
Right.
as you do.
Yeah.
And we had already like that was we probably like were like 4 months post like I mean, we were like, are we getting a divorce? I mean, what is
Right.
happening with our life, you know? And those pictures are like 4 months past that, post all of that, maybe like 6 months, I don't know, somewhere between there. And like we were getting ready for him to deploy and do all this stuff. And so it was like we were at a really like solid place. And so that was just like a really cool memory to have. And honestly, one of our favorite inside jokes came from that day.
Really?
And we still quote it all the time because there's one of them, I can't remember, I'm like sitting in his lap or something, and you told Joey like, hey, and because he's like kissing my cheek or something, and so it's supposed to be of like my face, and then his face is like kind of like on mine,
Yeah.
and you were like, oh, make her laugh, and you said something like make her laugh, and so Joey whispers into my ear, you smell better awake.
Awake.
Yes. And it was so outlandish. I don't even know what that means. Like,
Right.
it's so creepy. And the day of, like, I started laughing so hard. And he started laughing so hard. Like, we still laugh about it to
I
this
gotta
day.
find this photo. It might not even be in the gallery. Oh,
I
here
think
it is.
it's one of those ones. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's somewhere around there when we were like up
Okay.
close like that.
Now, I gotta ask you this because obviously there's we shoot a lot of sexy stuff, and you know these are pretty sexy, but we shoot even sexier.
Yeah.
How do you feel looking back? Would you have wanted to go less sexy, more
I
sexy?
think I
Like,
would have gone up more,
yeah,
probably. Like, and now, like, definitely now that I'm older, like, too, I was like, let's go, like, full send. I would be so down to full send it
right.
now.
Yeah, and but it's scary when you're really young, and because I try to read people, and I know it's funny because once we started shooting a lot sexier stuff, and our online portfolio isn't quite as sexy as what we shoot for our clients,
Hmm.
but they do end up like they come in thinking like, oh my gosh, that's too intimidating. They have a lot of fun, and I think afterwards they're like, man, I wish I would have done something even sexier.
Yeah. I also think it just comes, like, with experience and stuff. I mean, realistically, like, how are you gonna know how to be sexy when you're like 19 years old? You don't
Right.
you don't know anything.
Well, and that's kind of like how, and that's why I like doing those like tutorials, and I guess I've matured as a lot as a photographer since we first worked together. So
Hmm.
like I know now, like, okay, like I've learned the hard way, like clients in retrospect do like this and this and that. But it's kind of, and that's why I wanted to do this interview with you. I'm so glad that we have enough history now. It's been 5 6 years since
Yeah.
your first shoot, that you can look back and kind of confirm these suspicions that I've had. I gotta go through your bridal stuff because I love your bridal stuff. Like these are some of my favorite shots, and I'm like, obviously for the podcast, I'm gonna get a model release form from you because I want to use these on my Instagram because they're
Totally.
just. I mean, you look like a goddess in these. You're just sitting there. Tell me that is not one of the most beautiful photos you've ever seen of any human being.
I love to. I think I just love like the contrast of it,
Right.
because I'm in full hair and makeup,
Right.
but then I'm also like on a lawn chair. You know what I mean? And like I'm in like the bra and underwear are like super like lacy, embellished, whatever.
Yeah.
But then it's also like super stripped down. Like I don't know. I think it's because you have those two like um what am I trying to say? Like the opposites, I guess.
Well, and I remember, I mean, for our audience, this I try and tell people like I'm sometimes I have ideas, but this like when somebody wants something, it gets me excited because like in this case, you were like, hey, I want to be on workout equipment.
Yeah.
I was like, I've never done that. I've never done, and there's so many first time
That's so
requests. I
funny.
get all kinds of stuff. I mean, you just have no idea what's,
Yeah.
and you were like, I got to find the workout one. I want to be on a workout equipment. And I thought, okay, we can do that. And I remember when I was shooting, I was like, how am I gonna make this look good? Like I don't really know how. And then I shot this, and I was like, holy cow! Like I'm telling you right now, I could publish this. I could get this published in a magazine. This is absolutely incredible.
Do it. I mean, I'll consent. I'll give you all my consent. I look
Um,
great. I
you know
mean,
what?
why would
Here's
I not want that everywhere in the world?
right? And I'm like, I'm so glad you came up with that idea, but there's a lot of contrast. Number one, your makeup just looks absolutely spectacular. Your hair is off the charts.
Well,
And
and I
then,
wanted to kind of go like, I was kind of going like vintage, because we had a beach wedding and I have crazy curly mane hair. So I knew that it was going to get trashed being down by the beach. So I was like, let's just fully lean into that and go super curly, almost like vintage, like 1800s, like England kind of a vibe. I don't know. And like the makeup was just, I wanted it to be me but better, so it was just very like natural, I guess. I don't
now I don't get a lot of requests for day of wedding boudoir. And so this is kind of interesting. I don't think I ever talked to you about this. Like, how did you feel? Because obviously your your maid of honor is
Well,
there.
yeah, it
Your
was just Carly. She was the one who was at the beach with me doing the other one. So she was like, she already saw this was the PG version. She was like, I already saw the rated R when I was standing behind my best friend blocking her actual vagina from passersby.
Yeah.
Um, but my mom was there, which that was like, my mom is she's super modest. She's not like, I don't know, she's not like conservative. I mean, she is conservative, but
Right.
she's not like a prude, I guess is the right word. I don't know. Like, she doesn't really care that I want to do that, but be like, she would never do anything like this. I say that, but I still think that I
Yeah.
could bully her into doing something like this. And she's about to be 50 in a year, and I'm like, I think you, of all people, would be very empowered to do something like this. But
Yeah, and I think people, and I just did a video on it because people a lot of times they look at my Instagram, and I know when I post your photos, they're gonna think like, well, that's a model, and
I'm not.
I'm gonna
Promise you,
tag
I'm
this
not.
video exactly, and like you've never done anything like this. You grew up super conservative, like pastoral parents,
I
like
mean, not really, but I
right,
did grow up in the church.
right,
But also, my mom was a single mom. And she definitely went through some hoe years after she divorced my dad.
yeah,
So we get it.
yeah, but I
My
guess
mom's gonna hate me for saying that, but
well,
it's
maybe
fine.
we could maybe no, I don't know, we'll see.
It doesn't matter.
But my point is, like people come in, and this is a frustrating thing. They see your photos and they think, well, like that's a model, and it's like, dude, I want you to, I want people to hear your story because it's like you're terrified, you don't know what you're doing, you've never done anything like this,
It's
you
just
know.
I'm not a model, I promise. I've never I even say, like, I have every time I post a picture, because we have done like any professional photos that Joey and I have done. David, you've shot them pretty much. I don't even think that there's been any other ones. And then you and I did that random like beach shoot where I was in that like fancy dress and we went to the
Oh,
beach right
that's
next to my house.
right. Yeah,
And it
right.
was super chill and we just took a couple of shots. But like anytime I post any of your work on my Instagram or anything like that online, I'm like, I don't know how you make us, Joey and I, look so good every single time. Like I always have a line in the caption of somehow like, "Thank you for making us look good."
Well, it's it's funny because when I sit down with somebody, like when we're hanging out, I just like immediately I just start thinking angles. What are their angles? What are their angles? What are their expressions when I'm chatting with them? What do they look like when they smile? And because people have different smiles, different,
Mm-hmm.
and you just sit there and think. And for some people, it's like, okay, like it's when they're standing up doing this, and other people, you just got to think it through. And some people look better with clothes on, some people look better with clothes off, and it's just hitting that. And to me, it's obvious. And I think as a photographer, I know I'm rambling on about this, but I think about this a lot because to me, it's so obvious when I meet somebody, these are your angles. And then I hear them talk about what they don't like about themselves. I'm like, dude, I just need 10 minutes with you. 10 minutes and I will
Yeah.
publish you in a magazine. So
Yeah.
much. I really appreciate you. And we might have you back one more time just for the hell of
Do it. Love
it.
it.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Have a beautiful day.
Thank
And
you.